Good morning. Thank you for being here and thank you for your patience. I want to blame everything on the Christmas parade. I actually could, but so thank you, because it actually did. It made everyone late. More streets were blocked off than we thought, and so everyone is rerouted. And I see that people are still arriving, so we're pleased to see that. My name is Anna Edwards, and I am the chair of the Defenders Sacred Ground Historical Reclamation Project. And I would like to welcome you to the Truth and Conciliation in the 400th year, a Shockoe Bottom Public History Symposium. We are here because 15 years ago we held a first symposium, and in terms of our work, it was the beginning of working to reclaim African burial ground and African American history in Richmond, Virginia. And we held a symposium at that time, and several of the people who will be here with us today were a part of that symposium as well. And the point at that time is very much the point for this time as well, which is that the history was not well known, it was not understood. The story of Gabriel's Rebellion, which is this incredible pivotal event, was simply not popularly understood or known. And we thought that in that moment we would play our part in helping that become part of the generally understood story of Richmond, Virginia. And so we held that event on October 10th, which was the day that Gabriel gave his life for his attempt to end slavery, along with 25 others over the course of that fall. And that, along with the actual location of the African burial ground, we felt the history of Richmond centered on that story and that place was a good place to start, and turned out to be an incredibly compelling place to start. What has happened over the last 15 years has been the result of people who have been doing work long before we had, including the Slave Trail Commission, and lots of individual organizations who I remember at the time I was really confused. They didn't want me credit. They said, no, we're just doing what we do, right? And that's how our history has survived, typically, is that people remember and they pass it on. And what you're going to hear today is going to basically reassert that idea, remind us that this is how we remember who we are and who we think we would like to be. And right now, we are dealing with a whole lot in our society and in Richmond specifically that requires that we have a clear understanding of who we are and who we want to be, and therefore what this city is going to look like. And so we felt that it was time to update what we knew back in 2004 and present you with familiar and perhaps new scholars who have things to tell you. I hope that you will engage them by asking questions. We have purposely asked them to give brief remarks so that you would have time to ask the questions maybe that you have long wanted to ask, right? A couple of things in regard to the program that I would like to mention before I turn this over to Gregg Kimball so that he can give a proper welcome from the library, is that you will see in your program that Autumn Rain was going to be with us, and unfortunately she is not going to be able to be with us. Hers was going to be a contribution tying the Richmond slave trade to the trade in Rio in Brazil. And of course the international component is something that even if we don't talk about it today, you need to remember that this trade and this history that we are talking about is a global history, and ours was a part of it. The other we have Richmond Mayor LeVar Stoney's office has informed us that he will drop by after the Christmas parade. So we wish him luck with that, and we very much look forward to his presence here and what we hope he will offer. And then finally, yesterday we were very fortunate that Dr. Raymond Hilton from Virginia Union University is going to join the program in the 4th session to speak to the history of Virginia Union University and its connection to Lumpkins Jail in Shockoe Bottom. So I will now turn this over to Gregg Kimball so that he may do what he does.
Thank you, Anna, and I'll keep my remarks brief. I know we're running a little behind time. I'm Director of Publications and Outreach here at the Library of Virginia, and was delighted when Anna came to us with this project. I think it's obviously really, really important. As we've been finding out over the last maybe decade or so, you may remember that the library did an exhibit, again, building off a lot of other people's really fine work, called To Be Sold, that did explore the slave trade, particularly the connection to New Orleans. And we did a symposium that actually was interactive between Richmond and folks in New Orleans. And that is still on our website, so you can go back and look at some of the dialogue from that. There are a couple other things that I wanted to do besides, of course, welcoming all of you to the library. One is to just mention that another, I think, very important project that we have undertaken that I hope you'll get a chance to use is Virginia Untold, which contains, at this point, somewhere around 200,000 African-American names of both enslaved and free people of color at this point. So it's based on our documentary record here at the library. And I'm also very glad to say, I think Dr. Lornette Lee is going to be with us later today. Her project from the Virginia Historical Society, Untold No Longer, is now also linked to our website, so you can access both of those. There's plenty of information out at the desk about those projects. So, you know, the whole idea is access and letting you look at the original documentation. You know, cut me, the historians, out, right? Read the stuff yourself. That's really where it's at. That's what I enjoy doing as a historian, is actually reading the words of people, of the ancestors. We also just added to it, and this gives you a sense of the time when these records were created, a group of records related to runaway and escaped slaves, and that is what they were termed at the time, and including a whole range of ones that people who escaped to the enemy, which was the Union Army. So, of course, we today would say this was an act of self-emancipation. And, of course, many of those people who did that then turned around and became United States colored troops. And they then took part in the process of emancipating others. So one of the things about working in archives is you work with these archaic terms, but we had to call things for what they really are. At any rate, and I hope you, one last thing, please take a look at our exhibit. And I want to also thank the Virginia Humanities, because they did funding for this conference as well as doing a lot of the heavy lifting for our New Virginians exhibit. 29 interviews with immigrants to Virginia, ranging from people who've come within the last several years, all the way to people who came in the post-Vietnam era, trying to shine a light on the experience of immigration, what that was like, how it affects people's identity. So please take a look at the exhibit. It's only up today and then on Monday, and unfortunately then we will be doing an exhibit on women's suffrage for the upcoming year. At any rate, welcome to all of you for being here. I look forward to hearing and learning here today with you, and again, welcome.
Okay. The one thing that I didn't do when I first started was to thank the people who have helped to make this possible. And I certainly want to thank the Shockoe advocates and the defenders and the people who have helped with the Sacred Ground Project. But I also want to thank the Library of Virginia, because they have provided the facility and all of this technical support and all of the staff support. So be nice to everyone you see. I also want to thank the Virginia Foundation for the Humanities, which also provided support to make this possible, as well as the University of Virginia's McIntyre Department of Art, the Sierra Club Fall of the James chapter of the Virginia chapter, as well as the VCU Department of African American Studies. And if I have left anyone out, remind me, and I will say it later. The other thing I wanted to do was to make sure that we acknowledge the fact that we are on land that was the lands of people who were here for thousands of years before Richmond was ever established, who lived and had societies in this place, the indigenous people of this land. We must pay homage and gratitude to them, not only for what they sacrificed, but also because they're still here. Thank you very much. They live with us. We are all part of this place that we are making and trying to make. I also want to thank the ancestors who were brought here forcibly. We live in their debt, and we live to move things forward on their behalf because we are their children. I also want to thank the elders who are here because they have lived and are living and giving to us the things that we need to take us forward. And I want to thank those of you who are maybe not elders, but as we all make our way through this life to do good work and take us forward. And I hope that that is what will come out of this conference as well. I would like now to ask our beloved friend, Nikki McMullen, to come and launch this event in song.